There's a big world out there beyond that tall grass, with lots of Pokemon and lots of history. So today, we're taking a look at the entire Pokemon timeline from start to finish. But how exactly do we know when all of these events take place? Well, in-game text is the key. Whenever an important event is brought up, it's often explained that it took place X number of years ago. So that always gives us a good idea of where it fits into the timeline. But with that in mind, how do we know the exact order that these games take place in? Game scenario writer Toshinobu Matsumiya shared the chronology of the games up to X and Y in a now deleted tweet from 2014. And one very important thing to note before we begin is that Pokemon consists of multiverses with two major timelines. One where Mega Evolution doesn't exist, and another where it does. And finally, we'll be using the year 1996 as a reference point because it was the year that the original Pokemon Red and Green came out in Japan. And it all starts at the beginning of the universe. A single egg comes into being inside a world made up of nothing. Arceus hatches out and creates Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina, who in turn create time, space, and antimatter, respectively. While Dialga and Palkia form the universe and return to their own dimensions, Arceus sends Giratina to the Distortion world as punishment for its misdeeds. Arceus then creates Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf, which give knowledge, emotion, and willpower to all living things that come into being. The three go to reside in caves at the bottom of Lake Verity, Valor, and Acuity. Next, Kyogre is formed in the deep sea trenches, Groudon deep inside the earth, and Rayquaza in the ozone layer. Kyogre and Groudon proceed to fill the sea and form land, and a chance meeting turns the two into rivals, leading to a very violent clash for supremacy. Rayquaza proceeds to come down and stop the fighting, where the two Pokemon then go into special caverns to rest. Major land masses are created while Regigigas moves the continents, forming all the regions. It also creates the five Titans: Regirock, Regice, Registeel, Regieleki, and Regidrago. Heatran is formed in a pool of lava in the Hisui region. And finally, Arceus creates the Adamant, Lustrous, and Grizziosorbs before falling into a deep slumber, which leads us into prehistory. And speaking of early history, I was looking through some of my vintage Pokemon cards and thinking of sending some off to get graded. But there's actually a new way to rip graded cards straight out of a pack in one seamless experience, and that's with today's sponsor, Arena Club. You get to rip digital packs starting at just $25, but the packs include real graded cards, with the grails worth 20 times the pack price. Ripping slab packs on Arena Club is a lot of fun because of the nostalgia in chasing those vintage cards. But it's also really cool because you get awesome graded cards without the whole process of inspecting them, mailing them off, and waiting months for them to get graded. I'm gonna open one now, but check this out. Every slab pack shows you exactly what's inside and the pull rates, so you know exactly what you can get. Okay, I'm gonna rip one of these Ruby Pokemon slab packs. There's a lot of really cool chase cards here. You got the Shadowless Charizard. That Sabrina's Gengar was one of my favorite cards as a kid. Oh, and check out the Grail. It's a Rayquaza Supreme Victor's card in a PSA 10. That's a $5,000 card. All right, let's see what we get. Let's pull something good. Come on. Oh, nice. We got the Japanese base set Mewtwo in a PSA 9. That's crazy. That was one of the best vintage base set cards. It's also awesome that it's in Japanese too, because this is literally the first Mewtwo card. So we have the early Japanese print run of the first Mewtwo. Right when you rip a pack, Arena Club offers you cash for your card based on fair market value. But I think I'm gonna keep this one. And here's the best part. Arena Club was cool enough to hook us up with a special promo code for our audience. So jump in, grab 20% off your first slab pack or card by hitting arenaclub.com/pokebinge and popping in code pokebinge. Thank you, Arena Club, for sponsoring us today. Now let's get back to our timeline. Which leads us into prehistory, circa 300 million to 20,000 years ago. Pokemon such as Ammonites and Kabuto come into existence and are widespread. Millions of years later, scientists are able to bring them back to life by using devices to revive their fossils. An ancient version of Genesect exists, whose DNA would later be used by Team Plasma to create a much stronger version of it with cybernetic technology. The Terapagos population is plentiful in ancient Paldea, but almost becomes extinct due to seismic shifts, with only one surviving by turning into a crystal and lying dormant in the depths of Area Zero. Humans also come into existence. 20,000 years ago, a meteorite containing Eternatus fell into the Galar region. Finally, sometime during the Iron Age, Regigigas is sealed away in the Snowpoint Temple. Regirock, Regice, and Registeel are sealed away in various parts of the Hoenn region, and Regilucky and Regidrago are sealed away in Galar's Split Decision ruins. Circa 987 BC, the ultimate weapon. A long drawn-out war breaks out between two countries. Many lives are lost, and Pokemon are used merely as tools in this conflict. AZ, the king of the Kalos region, has his beloved Floette taken away and used as exactly that. After receiving Floette's body, AZ builds the ultimate weapon to bring it back to life. He succeeds, but having lost all hope, he uses the machine for destruction and eliminates both sides. AZ gains semi-immortality due to being exposed to some of the machine's energy, and Floette leaves him when it realizes how many people lost their lives just so its own could be restored. To prevent it from being used again, AZ's brother later buries it deep underground, while AZ himself sets off on a long journey traveling the world. This is the first event that takes place exclusively in the Mega Timeline because Mega Stones are created from stones that become exposed to the machine's energy. Circa 981 BC brings us the Darkest Day. Eternatus, attempting to stay alive, absorbs all of Galar's energy, which in turn causes a red light to appear. This results in a black storm called the Darkest Day, which causes Pokemon to go berserk while Dynamaxing, and the region almost gets destroyed. Zacian and Zamazenta then defeat Eternatus alongside two young men, ending the Darkest Day and bringing peace to Galar. The two men later become crowned as the kings of the region for their actions. Circa 489 BC, Truth versus Ideals. The Unova region is created by two brothers known as the Twin Heroes and their powerful dragon. However, they both want to seek different goals in life. The older brother wants to seek truth and the younger ideals, and they both fight over who is right. This leads to their dragons splitting into Reshiram and Zekrom, with the former siding with the older brother and the latter siding with the younger. The dragons equally match and neither side wins, causing the brothers to set aside their differences and declare there is no right side. Their sons would later start to fight all over again, causing Zekrom and Reshiram to destroy Unova. Circa 4 BC, meteor showers and primal reversion. Meteor showers plague the Hoenn region, destroying the home of the Draconid people, a tribe of dragon-type trainers, and creating the present-day Meteor Falls. Meanwhile, the world overflows with natural energy, which Groudon and Kyogre in their primal forms fight over. They cause massive destruction and are calmed by Rayquaza, who is summoned by the Draconid people using a wish on a meteor. Rayquaza is then seen by the people of Hoenn as a savior. This is another Mega Timeline exclusive event because, as we'll explore soon, Mega Evolution plays a part. Circa 2 AD, the Great Era of Exploration. The Paldean Empire rules over the present-day Paldea region with an iron fist, with the Emperor believing a hidden treasure exists within the depths of Area Zero. The Emperor sends people in large numbers to Area Zero to hunt for the treasure, just for none of them to return back. This would become known as the beginning of the Great Era of Exploration. Circa 18 AD, Anjay. AZ returns to the Kalos region where he's asked for his help in protecting it. He builds a device in Prism Tower called Anjay, which is made to share eternal life opposed to the mass death and destruction he created with the ultimate weapon 1,000 years earlier. Circa 996 AD, Kyogre and Groudon reawaken. 1,000 years after the meteor showers, Mega Timeline Hoenn is once again struck by a meteor. However, this one is so massive that it creates what is now Sootopolis City. The primal energy flowing from the meteor reawakens Kyogre and Groudon, who fight over it once again. The people of Hoenn wish for Rayquaza to save them, and it quells the two by performing the world's first Mega Evolution. The Sky Pillar is built in Rayquaza's honor, and the Draconid people start to pass down the prophecy that the meteor will return in another 1,000 years. Circa 1212 to 1515, more legends commence. In 1212, the Paldean Empire falls and unites with surrounding nations, creating present-day Paldea. In 1213, Xerneas and Yveltal release and absorb life energy, respectively, throughout the Kalos region before they go to rest. Paldea's Naranja/Yuva Academy is built in 1217, and the Bell and Brass Towers are built in Johto's Akrutik City in 1299, with Lugia and Ho-Oh perching at their tops. 1499 sees a Spiritomb being bound to a fissure in an old keystone for its misdeeds. In 1515, a couple things happen in Alola. First, the Tapus are defeated by Solgaleo and Lunala in a battle, who are given the Tapunium Z as a reward for winning. In return, the Tapus are given many Cosmog for them to look over over until they evolve. Secondly, Magearna is created by a scientist and is presented to a king's daughter. Meanwhile, at an unspecified date, the Sinjo ruins are built by people from Hisui and Johto, where the people from the two regions meet and share their ideas and mythology. Circa 1800s, the settlement of Hisui and the events of Legends Arceus. A group of people called the Galaxy Team settle in the Hisui region and form Jubilite Village. The team consists of people from various different regions, and one arm of the team, headed by Professor Laventon, sets out to create the Hisui's first Pokedex. Meanwhile, the Diamond and Pearl clans worship a god they call the Almighty Sinnoh, but disagree with each other on whether it created time or space. The first Pokeballs are also invented at this time. 2 years later, a space-time rift appears above Mount Coronet, and Rei, or Akari, a child from the future, emerges from it. Along with helping in the creation of Hisui's first Pokedex, they also calm the 5 noble Pokemon, who have been struck by lightning from the space-time rift, causing them to go on frenzies and attack people. When the rift gets bigger, they capture both Dialga and Palkia atop Mount Coronet's Temple of Sinnoh, calming time and space and closing the rift. However, the temple is destroyed and becomes what is now Spear Pillar. Having been called on by Arceus to seek all of Hisui's Pokemon, they do so, and with the help of Volo, searches for all of Arceus' plates. However, with one plate remaining, Volo reveals his true colors. Having been responsible for the rift, has to fight Arceus with Giratina by his side, and use its power to reshape the world. Volo battles Rei or Akari in one last attempt to get to Arceus, eventually using Giratina as well. When this fails and all the plates are gathered, the Celestica Flute becomes the Azure Flute, which is used to face Arceus. Rei/Akari becomes victorious, and they receive the Legend Plate from Arceus, a part of itself which allows it to walk alongside them. Circa 1822, the Area Zero Expedition Team. A group of explorers named the Area Zero Expedition Team successfully reached the depths of Area Zero. The most notable member is author and natural historian Heath, who publishes the events of the expedition in what is now known as the Scarlet Violet book. However, the book contains many things that sound like they come from fantasy, causing people to call Heath a liar and even question whether the team's claims of reaching the bottom of the Great Crater are legitimate. In response to the backlash, experts pass off the book as just a work of fiction. Circa 1849, Lugia and Ho-Oh fly off. The Critique City's brass tower burns to the ground, killing 3 Pokemon inside. Ho-Oh resurrects the 3 as Raikou, Entei, and Suicune, and flies off in search of a pure-hearted trainer. Lugia also flies off and settles in the Whirl Islands. Circa 1882, the Terrestrial Phenomenon. Pokemon cloaked in a mysterious light, known as terrestrialized Pokemon, are discovered in Area Zero and brought back to the surface, causing their light to fade and make the terrestrial phenomenon a mystery for years to come. 1925 to 1995, new discoveries and new life. The 70 years leading up to more contemporary events begins with the invention of the modern Pokeball in 1925 using research from Professor Westwood of Celadon University. And Galar, Mustard defeats Opal and becomes the region's champion in 1969, a title he keeps until 1987 when he's dethroned and retires not long after. Some of the game's protagonists are born around this time, such as Brendan and May in 1984, and Red and Blue a year later in 1985. 10 years later in 1995, Porygon, the very first Pokemon created via scientific engineering, is created. At an unspecified date, a group of scientists from Kanto discover Mew inside a deep jungle in the South American country of Guyana. They later take a part of its DNA and clone it inside Cinnabar Island's Pokemon Mansion. The clone, which they name Mewtwo, eventually escapes and destroys the mansion and goes to reside in Cerulean Cave. Which finally brings us to 1996, the events of Generations 1 and 3. In Kanto, Red and his rival, Blue, leave on their Pokemon journeys. After getting the 8 gym badges and defeating Team Rocket, Red challenges the Elite Four and the champion, who is none other than Blue himself. He becomes champion after defeating Blue and goes to the Sevi Islands to destroy what is left of Team Rocket. Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee not only have Mega Stones present, but also have different protagonists, so this Kanto takes place in the Mega Timeline, and things play out a bit different. Here, Chase/Elaine takes Red's place and Trace takes Blue's. Blue is present, but is significantly older and aids in defeating Team Rocket. There are also no Sevi Islands. Concurrently in Hoenn, Brendan/May begin their journey. They defeat all 8 of Hoenn's gym leaders and calm Groudon and Kyogre after they're awakened from their slumber by Team Magma and Team Aqua. Afterwards, they challenge and defeat Hoenn's Elite Four and Champion, becoming champion themselves. In the Mega Timeline, the main series of events plays out mostly the same, except Groudon and Kyogre go through primal reversion when they're awakened. Also in this timeline, a new series of events known as the Delta episode begins after Brendan and May become champion. Here, a meteoroid is in danger of hitting Hoenn, like the giant meteor 1,000 years prior. Zinnia, one of the last of the Draconid people, steals the keystone belonging to Brendan or May's rival, hoping to use it to Mega Evolve Rayquaza to destroy the meteoroid. This is done with good intentions, however, as Team Magma and Aqua want to get rid of the meteoroid in a much more sinister way: send it to non-Mega Hoenn. This would be bad news for that timeline, as no Mega Evolution means no means to stop an oncoming meteor. Zinnia destroys the device the evil team needs, and she, along with Brendan or May, goes to the top of Sky Pillar. Rayquaza is then summoned, Mega Evolved, and destroys the meteoroid. 1997 to 1998, the first in-between period. In Kanto, Cinnabar Volcano erupts, destroying almost the entire island. As a result, Cinnabar's gym leader, Blaine, relocates his gym to the Seafoam Islands. Giovanni is no longer Viridian City's gym leader due to Team Rocket's defeat, so that vacancy is filled by Blue. Meanwhile, Red leaves his championship position to go train at Mount Silver, making Lance Kanto's champion by default. In the Elite Four, Agatha retires and Lorelei goes back to her home on Four Island. These new vacancies are filled by Will, Karen, and Koga, the latter of whom gives his daughter, Janine, the new title of Fuchsia City Gym Leader. Finally, in non-Mega Timeline Hoenn, Frontier Brain Annabelle enters an Ultra Wormhole and is taken to the Alola region in the other timeline. 1999, the events of Generations 2 and 4. In Johto, Ethan/Chris/Lyra leaves New Barktown to run an errand for Professor Elm, while a boy named Silver steals one of his starter Pokemon. A revived Team Rocket enrages many Gyarados at the Lake of Rage as they take over the Goldenrod radio tower in an attempt to contact Giovanni. Ethan/Chris/Lyra defeats them, after which they're never heard from again. After collecting all 8 gym badges, they travel to Kanto, where they challenge the Elite Four and Champion, and defeat all of Kanto's gym leaders afterwards. Once all that is done, they travel to Mount Silver, where they challenge and defeat Red. At the same time in Sinnoh, previously known as Hisui, Lucas/Dawn and their rival Barry begin their Pokemon journeys. They challenge the 8 gym leaders and take on Team Galactic along the way. Their leader, Cyrus, wants to remake the entire universe in his image using the powers of Dialga and Palkia. After calming the legendary Pokemon, Lucas or Dawn challenges Sinnoh's Elite Four and Champion, after which they become champion themselves. 2000 to 2010, the second in-between period. Caitlin leaves Sinnoh Johto Battle Frontier to become an Elite Four member in Unova, where Team Plasma scientist creates Genesect from an ancient insect with cybernetic technology in an attempt to create the strongest Pokemon. Team Plasma also steals a Purloin belonging to Hugh's sister. It is also possibly around this time that Leon becomes champion of Galar, judging by his age. 2011, the events of Black and White. In Unova, Hilbert or Hilda and their friends, Sharon and Bianca, receive their first Pokemon and go off on their journeys. Upon arriving in Accumula Town, they encounter Team Plasma, who announces their plans to separate Pokemon from humans. They also battle their leader, N, who claims Pokemon are his friends. After earning all 8 gym badges and defeating the Elite Four, Hilbert or Hilda discovers that N has defeated Champion Alder and summons his castle, destroying the Pokemon League castle. Getsis, one of the members of the Seven Sages, reveals that he had the plan to separate people from their Pokemon so that he could be the only one in the world with Pokemon by his side. After N and Getsis are defeated, N apologizes for his misdeeds and flies off with Zekrom or Reshiram. Afterwards, Hilbert, Hilda, Sharon, and Bianca get recruited by the undercover officer Looker to seek out and arrest the remaining 6 of the Seven Sages. Once they're arrested, Hilbert or Hilda challenges the Elite Four once again to have a battle with Alder and becomes champion of Unova upon his defeat. 2012, the third in-between period. Many people take on new roles in Unova, with Bianca becoming Professor Juniper's assistant, Iris taking Alder's place as champion, and Sharon, Roxy, and Marlin becoming gym leaders upon new vacancies. Hilbert or Hilda also flies off with their dragon to a faraway region to search for N. Meanwhile, Team Plasma splits off into 2. One is loyal to N and dedicates themselves to protect Pokemon that are separated from their trainers, while the other is formed by Getsis campus in Zinzalin, dedicated to conquering Unova. Also in Paldea, Professor Seda/Turo discovers that the energy emitted by crystals in Area Zero causes the terrestrial phenomenon, and invents the Terra Orb for it to be used on the surface. The professor also invents a time machine that brings mysterious Pokemon that resemble widely known species called Paradox Pokemon into the present, and is later killed by a Koraidon or Miraidon. 2013, the events of Black and White 2 and Generation 6. Returning to Unova, Nate/Rosa receives their first Pokemon and goes off on their journey with Hugh, who hopes to get his sister's Purloin back from Team Plasma. After Nate or Rosa earns their 7th badge from the Opelucid City Gym, Team Plasma attacks and covers the city in unbreakable ice. The Shadow Triad uses this opportunity to steal the DNA splicers from the gym. Getsis is eventually confronted by Nate or Rosa, who is almost frozen alive by an attack from Kyurem, but is saved in the nick of time by N and his legendary dragon. However, Getsis uses Kyurem's power to transform N's dragon back into an orb, and uses the DNA splicers to turn the former into Black/White Kyurem. Kyurem is defeated in a battle, causing the dragons to separate, and Getsis is also defeated. By N's suggestion, Nate and Rosa then goes to the Pokemon League, defeating the Elite Four and Champion. Afterwards, they go to the remnants of N's castle, where after a battle with him, N says goodbye to his dragon so it can go join them. Concurrently in Mega Timeline Kalos, Calum or Serena leaves their home to receive their first Pokemon with their friends. While on their journey to collect the 8 gym badges, they encounter Team Flare, an organization who wishes to create a beautiful and better world, while making money. After earning their 7th badge, Calum or Serena is contacted by Lysander, who reveals himself to be the leader of Team Flare and his intention to fire the ultimate weapon to eliminate all life. After battling Lysander twice, they make their way to the basement of Team Flare's headquarters, where they find Xerneas and Yveltal, and battle Lysander once again. They and their friends try to reason with him, but he fires the ultimate weapon anyway. Thankfully, it has little power left, causing it to destroy itself and bury both the headquarters and Lysander, causing Team Flare to disband. Calum or Serena then goes to the Pokemon League, where they defeat the Elite Four and Champion. During the celebratory parade, they battle AZ, where afterwards he is reunited with his dear Floette. 2015, the events of Generation 7. In Mega Timeline Alola, Gladion and Lily flee Aether Paradise with a Type Null and a Cosmog. 3 months after Lily flees, Elio/Celine leaves their home to go on their Pokemon journey and receives their starter. They also receive their Z-Ring at the festival that inaugurates their Island Challenge, which consists of 7 trials and 4 grand trials in order to become the Island Champion. Along the way, they encounter Team Skull, a group of misfits who failed their Island Challenge and aim to cause trouble, as well as the Aether Foundation, who aims to heal hurt Pokemon. After defeating Team Skull's leader, Guzma, Elio or Celine travels to Aether Paradise, where they battle Luzamine, the president of the Aether Foundation. Luzamine opens Ultra Wormholes all throughout the region and enters one with Guzma. Elio and Celine enters Ultra Space to battle Luzamine and bring the two back to Alola. They later enter Alola's newly opened Pokemon League, where they beat the Elite Four and Professor Kukui, becoming the region's first champion. Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon take place in a different reality where most of the aforementioned events play out the same way, but Luzamine now seeks to aid the Ultra Recon Squad in stopping Necrozma. When Elio, Celine, and Lily reach the altar of the Sun/Moon, they discover that Luzamine and Guzma have been defeated and Necrozma fuses with Nebby. It's followed into Ultra Space and reaches Ultra Megalopolis, where it's transformed into Ultra Necrozma. After a long battle, Necrozma is defeated and Nebby is freed from its influence. Sometime after Elio or Celine becomes champion, the Aether Foundation is attacked by Team Rainbow Rocket, which consists of the leaders of evil teams from realities where they succeeded in their goals. Seeking to use the Aether Foundation's research to further their goals of multiversal conquest, they are eventually defeated. 2016, the 4th in-between period. AZ returns to Kalos and buys out a hotel in Lumiose City, which he plans to spend his final days in, naming it Hotel Z. Quasartico Inc., a company which had begun a redistricting plan to bring people and Pokemon in the city closer together, is approached by AZ with a warning that the city is in danger. Heeding his warnings, Quasartico investigates Prism Tower and discovers a strange energy coming from it, dubbing it Mega Power, and closes down the tower. They deduce that this power can cause rogue Mega Evolution, a phenomenon in which Pokemon can suddenly Mega Evolve and go berserk. Many wild Pokemon start to invade Lumiose as if they're attracted to the Mega Power, and Quasartico creates wild zones to contain the Pokemon and prevent rogue Megas from rampaging throughout the city. Quasartico Quasartico also creates the ZA Royale, a nighttime citywide battle tournament used to seek out the city's strongest Mega Evolution user. Circa 2016 to 2018, the events of Generation 8. In Galar, Victor/Gloria and their rival Hop receive their starter and meet a mysterious Pokemon in the Slumbering Weld. They journey across the region to collect all 8 gym badges in order to enter the Champion Cup. Along the way, they come across Team Yell, a gang of misfits who support Marnie in the gym challenge, and Macrocosmos, a conglomerate whose chairman, Rose, has endorsed Beat. They also travel to the Isle of Armor, where they train under former champion Mustard, and the Crown Tundra, where they investigate 3 mysterious surrounding legendary Pokemon with retired gym leader Peony. During the Champion Cup, Rose interrupts the championship match by reawakening Eternatus and bringing about a second Darkest Day to provide Galar with energy to last a millennium. Victor/Gloria and Hop summon Zacian and Zamazenta and defeat and catch Eternatus, after which the former defeats Leon and becomes the new champion of Galar. Not long after, brothers Swordward and Shieldbert cause chaos around the region in a misguided attempt to restore the Galarian monarchy, but are stopped by Victor or Gloria and Hop, with the former catching Zacian and Zamazenta in the process. 2018, the events of Legends ZA. Paxton/Harmony arrive in Lumiose City and receive their starter Pokemon from Tawny/Urbane. After settling down in Hotel Z, our protagonist enters the ZA Royale and becomes a member of Team MZ, a small organization dedicated to keeping Lumiose peaceful. They also encounter Rogue Mega Evolution for the first time by quelling a Mega Absol with AZ's Lucario. Quasartico Inc. sees this and assigns Team MZ to stop all Rogue Mega Evolutions in the city. Our protagonist encounters Zygarde several times alongside a mysterious man calling himself L, who urges them to become a strong trainer worthy of the legendary Pokemon's approval. It's later revealed that L is none other than Lysander, who was saved from being crushed by the ultimate weapon by Zygarde and lost most of his memories. As they reach farther in the ZA Royale, our protagonist meets former Team Flare members Grisham and Grizel, who had since formed Team Flare Novu. With their permission, they explore Lysander Labs and learn about Anjay. Lysander, slowly gaining his memories back, explains that he originally wanted to fire both Anjay together with the ultimate weapon, but couldn't find AZ's Floette, who was needed to activate the former. He also explains that firing the weapon caused Anjay to awaken, and that Zygarde needs to reach full power to stop it. After reaching rank A in the ZA Royale, AZ tells our protagonist how he created Anjay to protect Lumiose, but the ultimate weapon firing 5 years earlier caused it to emit all its mega power, which started causing chaos in the first place, and the only way to stop it is for his Floette to mega evolve and reach Anjay's control panel. As Floette absorbs all the mega power, the two suddenly become entrapped in the tower and it goes berserk, leading to the other Team MZ members and ZA Royale participants to help our protagonist reach Zygarde. They team up with Zygarde, mega evolve it, and destroy Anjay, freeing Floette and Tawny or Urbane. Sometime after, AZ passes away and Team MZ and Quasartico decide to continue the ZA Royale in his memory. After catching Xerneas and Yveltal, our protagonist goes to the remains of Prism Tower, where they battle Zygarde and catch it as well. Lysander arrives after the battle and, having fully realized the errors in his ways, sets off on a journey of his own, expecting to live for as long as AZ. As a side note, we know that Legends ZA takes place after Gen 8 because it's mentioned in-game that Leon is the former champion of Galar. And finally, 2022, the events of Generation 9. In Paldea, a student named Florian/Juliana receives their starter with their neighbor Nimona, encounters the son of Professor Seda/Turo named Arvin, the legendary Koraidon/Miraidon in a weakened state, and saves a girl named Penny from being harassed by a group of delinquents named Team Star. At the encouragement of Nimona, our protagonist collects all 8 gym badges to defeat the Elite Four and champion. A mysterious person named Cassiopeia also requests their help in taking down Team Star's 5 squads along with Penny, who reveals herself to not only be Team Star's leader, but also the one behind the Cassiopeia persona. Arvin also enlists their help in taking down the 5 Titan Pokemon and collecting their Herba Mystica, which possesses incredible healing capabilities. The Herba Mystica are used to help heal Arvin's injured Mobistiff and help Koraidon or Miraidon regain its lost abilities. Once the 3 quests are completed, our protagonist journeys down to Area 0 with their friends at the request of Professor Seda/Turo and discover the professor's lab at the very bottom. They also learn about the time machine used to bring Paradox Pokemon to the present, and that the professor is actually dead, with a robot equipped with AI having been the one talking to them throughout their journey. At the AI's request, our protagonist helps them stop the time machine from flooding Paldea with Paradox Pokemon. However, in order to stop the machine completely, the AI has to travel to another era. Upon adjusting back to school life, Florian or Juliana Juliana goes on a class trip to the land of Kitakami, organized in part by Unova's Blueberry Academy. They meet two of the Academy's students, siblings Carmine and Kieran, and the group learns about the story of Ogerpon and the Loyal Three. During the first night of the Festival of Masks, our protagonist and Carmine encounter Ogerpon, which they keep secret from Kieran. They learn the next day that the Loyal Three were actually the bad guys, and Ogerpon was their victim, contrary to what the people of Kitakami believe. After overhearing the story, Kieran feels betrayed for having the truth be kept from him the night prior. When the Loyal Three get resurrected from their grave and steal Ogerpon's masks, Florian or Juliana retrieve them while Kieran convinces the townspeople that it's innocent. Ogerpon chooses to travel with the former, making Kieran feel even more betrayed. Sometime after, our protagonist travels to the Blueberry Academy as an exchange student, where it's revealed that Kieran is the champion of the BB League Elite Four. After they defeat the Elite Four and Kieran, Briar, a teacher at the academy, invites them, Kieran and Carmine, on an expedition to Area Zero to discover Terapagos. They find it in the Area Zero underpaths, and Kieran hopes to use it to defeat Florian or Juliana once and for all. When Terapagos' powers go out of control, however, the two join forces to defeat it, with the latter catching it. After having a change of heart, Kieran makes up with the protagonist as they make their return to the academy. As an aside, it isn't known for sure which timeline these events take place in, but Roaring Moon's Violet Pokédex entry suggests it may be the Mega Timeline, since it says it has some connection to, quote, a phenomenon that occurs in a certain region. Considering that statement and its resemblance to Mega Salamence, it should be easy to put two and two together. And that is the complete Pokemon timeline. For now. But if you enjoyed that, you gotta check out our legendary Pokemon family tree video, where we go over in great detail how every legendary Pokemon is connected. Thank you again, Arena Club, for sponsoring us today. Get 20% off your first slab pack or card by going to arenaclub.com/Pokebinge and using code PokeBinge.